It's match day, big game tonight. I think it's a bigger game for Lopetegui than West Ham. If we lose tonight, and assuming the board take decisive action, I think they will. I think if we lose tonight, they will sack him, and they have to. They've got to stick to that. If they've given Lopetegui this game and this game only, Sky Sports said West Ham are looking at it as a cup final for Lopetegui. You've got to stick with it. You lose a cup final, you don't get to go again next week. If it's a playoff one, as we very well know, you lose, you're staying in the Championship for a further season at least. So you've got to stick to it. If the board have decided it's cup final time, losing you're out, stick to it. And that's why I think tonight's bigger than for Lopetegui and West Ham. If we lose, it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world as long as we do sack him. The next manager would come along. We've still got some good players at the club. Got the January transfer window just round the corner. We'd still be okay, I think, as long as we took action. Whereas with Lopetegui, it's win or bust really tonight, and it has to be. And this is where the club, or more Sullivan, you feel like it's more Sullivan, but the club, if you're going to issue warnings, you've got to follow through on them. If they have told you you've got one more game, and I believe they have, because everyone and everywhere is reporting the exact same thing here, and we lose and they don't sack him, then what? When you say, you better win against Bournemouth, right, then what are you going to do? Give me the next game as well. They've got to follow through. Huge game tonight. And I'm feeling okay about it, actually. I'm feeling okay about it. One thing I felt over the weekend, though, is that when you're doing your predictions, whether you do Super 6, you maybe having a little bet, or you're just looking at the fixtures in general, or you're doing Fantasy League or something, whatever reason, you're looking at the Premier League fixtures as a whole, I feel like we haven't really felt like we could nick something much this season. And let me explain a little bit here, because when we do the previews and we read everybody's comments and you get a bit of a gist as how they're feeling ahead of the game, we do our prediction competition over on Patreon, you see everybody's predictions as to how they think the game's going to go. And I think some people on there will play it tactically, but I think most are playing it with their honest opinions, because at the end of the day, there's sound goods up for grabs, right? So I think most people are just very honest with their predictions. And throughout the season, bar the first couple of games, because there's like new season optimism, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But as the season's gone on, not many people are feeling confident about West Ham winning, whether it's tonight, Leicester, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. I think there was a bit of optimism from Man U and Ipswich, and that was proving correct. But the other games, not so much. But when I was looking at the other Premier League fixtures over the weekend, coming into the weekend, I was thinking, Forest away to Man U. Yeah, you'd fancy Forest to get something there. And then you see yesterday, Leicester coming back against Brighton. You see Ipswich getting something against Bournemouth. And you think, I'm not sure we're capable of doing that. And we are, because we've gone away to Newcastle and done it. But my point is that pre-match feeling you get of hope and optimism, it's been sapped out of me quite a lot, actually. There's not been too many games I've gone into thinking we're going to win this. And when I do feel like that, it's more because of the opposition rather than us. So the wins off the top of my head are predicted this season for West Ham, Everton, Man United. And it's because, and even Leicester, but that's because I thought Leicester wouldn't be great. And I would argue that proved to be the case. I think Leicester had the better chances, but we had more chances throughout that 90 minutes. And we did all right in that game, but we still got beat. And I think that's something that's lacking for me this season, that hope that you can beat anyone on your day. It's not really be there. So I'm looking for a good performance from us tonight, because I remain incredibly unconvinced that Lopetegui can turn us around. Even if we win tonight, it's not going to convince me that he's now the man. If we win 4-0 and football's fantastic, I'll give him the praise and the credit for that, as well as the players, and I will be happy. But I'm not sure I'm going to think, do you know what? I think he's maybe the man for West Ham. It's going to take more than one good performance. But not only one performance, it's consistent performances too is what we're looking for here. I still don't think we'll win tonight. And he's been thrown a bit of a curveball now, and it is an incredibly unfortunate one in regards to Mikel Antonio. And I'll be honest, when the stuff came out on Saturday, with, you seen the photo, you heard the rumours, then the way the club put out a statement with like the black West Ham badge, it gave me chills. I was expecting the worst. So to hear he's stable and recovering, that's good news, and that's the most important thing, and that's the priority. However, if you put the nature of the injury to one side just for a moment, these things happen in football, as in players are unavailable for large periods of the season. We've had it with Fulkrug this season. Other teams suffer injuries. Brighton with Matt O'Reilly, for example. None of them are as horrific as Antonio. I'm not comparing the injuries. I'm just comparing the fact that managers quite often throughout the season will have a player unavailable for a large period of time, and they have to come up with something. And it's not very often West Ham play well when Mikel Antonio doesn't play well. Even when Antonio's in the team, if he has a bad game, we usually have a bad game. However, if he's on top form, sometimes we do all right. We tend to rely on him, and we have done for a number of years. We've tried to replace him, and we couldn't do it. Now we have to. There's no option now. And I think the way I see it, he's got 3 options, and he's got to pick the right one and hope it works. Option A is Danny Ings, which is the one I want to see the least. Now, against Leicester, I thought he didn't look... He looked poor, but he didn't look terrible. And I think he's looked all right this season, Danny Ings. I thought he deserved his crack. I know a lot of people weren't happy to see him in the starting lineup, and they were proven correct. But when I seen the starting lineup, I thought, do you know what? I think he deserves it. I think he deserves a shot. He's had that now. I do believe he was injured very early on in that game. Now, he visibly looked injured 5-10 minutes before half-time, and Somerville was warming up. But I believe that he was injured closer to the 10-minute mark than 20-minute mark, and he continued to play that half. So option A is Danny Ings up front. I'd rather not see that one. If he's fit, I think that's what you'll do, but that's the one I don't want to see. Option B is Fulkrug. Got his goal against Leicester. Hasn't, like a new signing. I don't like saying like a new signing when a player comes back from injury, but sometimes it's true because it is a new signing. Before Leicester, the last time we seen him was in August, right, 4 months ago. He won't play 90 minutes, right? Fulkrug just will not be available for 90 minutes. But even if you can get 45 minutes out of him, start with your strongest team. I always think that. That's why I find it uncomfortable when managers play for the 0-0 until the hour mark, and then they'll put the attacking players on and try and win the game. I get it. I understand the point. But I just think it's very risky. I always believe start with your strongest team, and then hopefully you can make defensive substitutions because you've got something to hang on to, rather than make attacking ones and you're chasing the game. So go with Fulkrug up front. That's what I would probably go for. My team in the preview is still applicable, despite what's happened since. Gonzo's has changed, but mine remains the same. That would be Fulkrug to start. Option C is Kudus up front. Somerville on the left, Bowen on the right, Kudus up front, and continue with 2 from Alvarez, Souček, Soler and Paqueta. You could put Irving or Orford in there if you want to, but I'd imagine they're not options as far as Lopetegui is concerned. He's got 4 midfielders. Even Rodriguez, I'm discounting him. I don't think he's an option for Lopetegui anymore. I think he's got those 4, and it'll be 3 from 4. We might see that. I think that's more likely than Fulkrug, and I would be intrigued by that one. I would be. Because if he did that, I think he's trying something. He's trying something. If the lineup comes out and it sings up front and Kudus on the left and Bowen on the right and he's got 3 from 4, Somerville's on the bench again, I'd be a bit disheartened, truth be told. I think, right, okay. Because tonight, there will be an atmosphere tonight. There will be an atmosphere. All this week there's been talk of perhaps a boycott. But tonight the West Ham fans will stand up and sing for Mikel Antonio. They will. How much and how often, I don't know. But on the 9th minute, I think it's fair to expect a round of applause and Antonio's name being chanted. I think we can assume his name will be chanted throughout the 90 minutes at various different intervals. if we score first, expect Bowen, I'm assuming Bowen scored the goal, expect Bowen to run over to dugout and pick up Antonio's shirt. This will give the players an injection of enthusiasm and motivation. And I know people think, oh no, they don't want to play for Lopetegui anymore. Their morale's all-time low, their motivation's low. The same is applicable for Wolves right now. I've seen them against Everton. They were horrific. Half the team didn't know what they were doing. The other half knew what they were doing, but they didn't want to do it. They had down tools on on Wednesday. Goodson Park, those Wolves players down tools. So you could say that maybe some players have downed them under Lopetegui. That's fine. I'm not going to disagree with that. Don't think they all have. I think some of them have. But the same is applicable for Wolves. The difference is those players now have got all the... Lopetegui's team talk's done for tonight. His team talk isn't, my job's on the line, go out there and win. His team talk is, you've got a teammate that's been in a horrific accident over the weekend, go out and do it for him. And I think they might. I think they will. Things like that can really... We've all been through it in life where something like that has happened. You've had a tragedy in life and that gives you the get up and go. And I think that's what will happen tonight. And it's going to get the fans up for this game. Because Saturday reminded you that there's things more important than football in life. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes there is, though. And Saturday gave us all that reminder. I think everybody, when we saw that picture and that statement, we all feared the worst and had a relief when it wasn't the worst. And you felt like a bit of a numpty for whinging about I did. I'm only speaking for myself. You felt, have I really been moaning about the manager all this time and whatnot? But you know something? Both things can be true. Just because that accident happened on Saturday afternoon doesn't mean that Lopetegui's not been doing a bad job. You can still want a change of manager despite what happened to Mikel Antonio, because West Ham United have to keep on going forward, and we've got to start making plans now without Mikel Antonio, and it starts tonight. And the January transfer window's just got different. We were probably in the market for a striker anyway. We're definitely in the market for a striker. We might have been looking for a loan deal. Well, it might be a case of get your checkbook out because we're going to have to get a significant signing. We've found it impossible to replace Mikel Antonio with tens of millions of pounds. We spent 45 million on Sebastian Haller, 35 million on Gianluca Scamacca, 25 million on Fuku. He hasn't had a chance yet, but we've spent over 100 million trying to replace Mikel Antonio, and we've failed to do it. Now, Lopetegui's got to do it with 3 days' notice, no money to spend, and use what he's already got. I just can't see him doing it. So in January, we've got to go out there, whether it's Lopetegui or someone else. We need... Tim Steiden's priority in the next month is to find a striker. Lopetegui's priority today is to get 3 points tonight and replace Mikel Antonio in the starting 11. Anyway, big game tonight. If we lose, I want to see that corner flag statement on the website tomorrow morning. He's got to be gone. Whether it's Potter, whoever else. The club were naive to go through the international break. I thought they should have sacked him then, they didn't. But what I expected them to do was a bare minimum, which was to start thinking, who should we get if he doesn't turn things round after the international break? There should have been a plan in place that if we lost to Leicester, this happens. And it felt like after the Leicester game, they'd only just thought, oh, hang on, maybe this guy isn't going to work out. It was a surprise to West Ham United. Lopetegui has struggled and we got beat by Leicester City. There's no excuses now. So if we lose tonight, action must be taken. You've had a week. You've had a week now to get your finger out and get your arses in gear. There's no excuse. There was already no excuses. There's less than no excuses now. We're negative excuses. Anyway, I think we're going to win tonight because of that motivation regarding Mikel Antonio. I think we're going to win. And I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 3-1. I'm changing. I rarely change my prediction. Partly because I'm stubborn, but because when you do the preview, you're thinking with your head. But when it comes to match day, you start to think with your heart a little bit, don't you? And that's good. That's the role of a supporter. You get up for the game, you start to get optimistic. It's a good thing. maybe I'm just a little bit foolish for thinking we're going to win today, but I don't know. I just think that over the last 24 or 48 hours, I feel like everybody's put the situation with Lopetegui to the back of their mind and parked it a little bit because there's something a little bit more serious. I say a lot more serious. You know, I feel bad about someone potentially losing their job. Someone nearly lost their life on Saturday. And I think we're going to win tonight, 3-1 West Ham. Anyway, I'm off, skis. I'll catch up with you all in a bit. If you've enjoyed this video, you know what to do. The usual, please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up, subscribing to Hammers Chat. I'll catch you in a bit.